Alright folks, first of all, we'll talk about the PCV valve. What is the PCV valve? What does it stand for? What does it do? PCV valve stands for positive crankcase ventilation. It attaches to the intake manifold, which I'll show you in a second. And what it does is it recycles crankcase gases back into the engine to burn. It's kind of an emissions thing. So when they go bad, they're easy to replace. They're not expensive, at least on American cars. I can't speak to foreign cars, and they're relatively, this one in this case is right on top, so it's pretty easy. But I'll show you real quick where it's leaking and where it is. So this is the PCV valve right here on top. This right here is your intake manifold on the 5.7 liter Hemi engine. Now if you'll come in a little closer, Mr. Cameraman, right down here you can see there's a puddle of oil down there, and that's how I was able to determine that my PCV valve was leaking. I also took it to the dealership for some other reasons, and they confirmed that it's the PCV valve. And I've also got on this side, I've got a valve cover gasket leak, which I'll be fixing in a different video. But so for now, we're just going to do this PCV valve real quick. Here's the new one. Here's the part number real quick. It's a different color, but it's the same thing. So I just use a pair of pliers because sometimes these can stick. Turn it all the way out. There you go. So that's the old one. Not really much to it. Like I said, it's just a valve. I'll just put it over here for now, I guess. And get the new one. Again, that ball should move, and it's not that difficult to put in the wrong way. Just put it in there. There we go. And be careful, it is plastic, so don't over torque it. And that seats nice and tight, which is good because that other one didn't seat as tight. And there we go. That's it. That's the easy installation for the PCV valve. Mr. Cameraman, if you would point down, this is our EGR valve, and that is what we're going to be replacing next. And it's got a plug, and this is also a pipe that goes in that carries the exhaust gases. But the EGR valve stands for exhaust gas recirculation, and that basically brings your hot exhaust gases back into your engine's intake manifold, which is this. That's why this pipe is in here, which goes back in here also. It's also part of the emissions system. So we're going to take that out and replace that with a new one. So we'll get started with that. Okay, so here it is. So the first thing we need to do, it's a Chrysler product, so we have to get these lock switch, pull that back, and then you can push down on here and unplug it, theoretically. There we go. Move the plug off to the side so that we don't break it. Last thing you want to do is break that end of it. Next is this pipe. It's metal. This is a heat shield. It's not actually like that, so we're going to get that off. The bolts are right down here. They're 8mm. So we'll get those undone. Get some light in here so we can see. There we go. Is that better, Mr. Cameraman? Alright. I removed this once already because I had to replace the alternator, which I did not film because it was, while it's nice that it's up front here, it was rather, it fought me all the way. Okay, that's now able to be hand loosened, so I'll break this one free. biggest thing you want to do is be careful of these small lines right here. These are your brake lines. Last thing you want to do is mess those up. I'm sorry, not brake, but brake lines? Yeah, they are your brake lines. Just be careful with them, because if you bend those or crush those, then your simple repair is going to cost you a lot more. Now there is a gasket in between here, the pipe and the valve, so just be aware of that. The kit comes with a new one, so you do not have to reuse it. It's probably not a good idea to reuse it, but in a pinch, if you had to, as long as it was in good condition, you could reuse it if you needed to. Alright, there we go. Whoopsie. Well, we're going to have to get that. That was the filter, or the whatchamacallit. So come up here, so it comes out of here, so it just pulls right out. And there you go. Mine's gunky, so we'll probably get a rag and clean it up in a few minutes. We'll just set it aside. Next, we're going to access the other two bolts. These are 10 millimeters, and we switch sockets. I've got this knuckle on here that helps, but if you've got a better way, by all means use it, because I don't know that it's going to help me on this bottom one down here. It's when the last time I had to use a wrench, and it just took doing it forever, and I may have to do that with that one, but let me at least get this one started. I don't even think I need a knuckle for that one. It's going to go in straight with just an extension. And you just need to break them loose. They're generally able to unscrew with your finger once you get them started. See if I can get this one started without having to use the wrench. No, that's just an awkward location. Resort to my 10 millimeter wrench, and then just do it the slow way. Okay, now there is a gasket in between this and the head, so just be aware of that. It's a metal gasket. Alright, I'm going to unscrew that, so we'll be back once I got those screws undone. Alright, we almost got it out. Save the best for the last. Now there's a little metal gasket in this one, so you might need to move the valve aside and hold it with your finger so you don't lose it like I lost the cork one, which I'm going to have to go find. Oops, it's fallen. Well, it hasn't fallen in, but it's stuck to the screw. Ooh, okay. Oh, well, there it goes. Oh well, we'll get that later. There you go. So there's your EGR valve. Again, there's nothing wrong with this one outside of it just being, old, but it's kind of preemptive. So this is the new one, and we like to compare. So it looks all the same. The connector is the same. The ports are the same. Everything is the same. So we're going to hold on to this one. I'm a firm believer in saving parts that are good that you're replacing, just in case something happens with the replacement part. So this is the metal gasket that fell that you didn't get to see, and then this one is actually goes right here to go in between that pipe right there and here. And this kit actually came with 2 new bolts. So we'll go ahead and use the new bolts. Just remember you're putting bolts into aluminum, so always start them by hand. So we'll do that first. And these have little things that hopefully will grip the bolts so that you won't lose the gasket like I just did down into the engine compartment. So I always like to try to start them a little bit like that, so now that gasket won't get lost. We'll do that with the other screw. It's just a matter of just twisting it in there a little bit, getting a few threads started. There we go. Now if you look down here real quick, you see the mating surface. If it looks dirty, which this one really doesn't, just clean it off with a rag. You don't want to really use anything abrasive because you don't want to scratch it. It's a machine surface, so you don't want to ruin that. Here, so we'll just... And if you're taking out your alternator, you'll have to remove this, but just as an FYI, it will make life a lot easier and open up a lot of space for you. So I'll start to get a couple turns on that one so we don't lose it. And I'll have to turn this one by hand a couple times just to get it started. Go. Again, if you've got a tool that'll fit in here better than my tools don't fit in here, by all means use it. Otherwise you can just go old school and finger tighten it all the way down until you need the wrench. Now I don't know what the torque specs are for this, but I can't imagine they're too high. You can look those up yourself if you'd like. Again, I'm not a mechanic, and this is for education purposes. So if you want to know all that stuff, please look it up on your own. So I'm going to go ahead and run these screws down, and we'll be back once I'm done with that. Alright, so I just got to snug these up. Be glad you weren't here for the screwing in of this one, because there were lots of four-letter words that would have changed the rating of this. But just be careful, go down a little bit at a time as you start getting resistance. You want the gasket to compress evenly, so swap back and forth between the sides. There we go. And we'll snug down the other side real quick. Try and turn it the right way. There we go, that's it. So now, put the tube on, so let's not forget our gasket. Gasket goes on here. Alright, so put the tube back in the hole here. It should fit with this rubber grommet. Let's put that all the way in. And this lines up pretty good right down here. So I'll take a screw. Put the gasket, or drop it just like I... Alright, after numerous more curse words later, and again, I've said it many times before, blessings of this thing have paid off. I found the gasket, got the screws started. Again, these are 8mm. Get this exhaust pipe back on, so I'm just going to get you some better light there, and hopefully you can see that. Just going to hand tighten them down, and again, it's a gasket, so you want to make sure you get them, you work them in slowly once you get down to start actually tightening them. Hopefully I won't drop any more tools. I think I fished them all out. I even got the old gasket out that I dropped earlier. Found that right next to the new gasket. hand wrench like I'm about to, just to make sure you don't mess anything up. That is exactly what you need to do. Tighten that down, make sure it looks like it's got a good seal. Same thing with this. Again, you don't want to over tighten it. You can look up the torque specs if you wish, but I think just tight enough, hand tight, just past difficult should probably be enough to seal the system. Yep, that feels good. That feels good. Everything's solid. I did clean this end off up here, so hopefully you can see that. I'm kind of doing this blind. I lost my cameraman, but clean that off. So we'll do the plugs, plug it all back in. Our plug is right here. So that's just simply snaps in. Do you hear that snap? And push that tab forward. Make sure it's nice and snug. Boom, Bob's your uncle. There you go. That's how easy it is. Hopefully you don't have the same problems I had with dropping tools and gaskets. And luckily they're all magnetic, so you can get one of these and pick them up. This thing is awesome. I love it. And because I drop a lot of tools, obviously. Forgot to show you the part number for the EGR valve. There you go. If you want to take a look at it, that's the one I used. Again, it's a Dodge. So your foreign car might be different, and it might be located in a different location. So just look at your owner's manual, figure it out. If it's too difficult for you, any of these things, or any of my other videos, if you don't feel confident, please have a professional mechanic take care of that for you. Otherwise, that's it. It's pretty short and sweet.
All right, folks. Believe it or not, when I last made that video about the PCV and the EGR valve, that was back in February 2001, and it is now mid-October. But let's go check and see if it's leaked. My original intention was only to do it for like a month or so to see if it leaked or not, but here we are. So stuff happens, right? Let's go take a look and see if it is leaking or not. Alright, so as you all remember, PCV valve, you see there's still a little fluid down there, but that's just the stuff that I couldn't get up when I cleaned it originally because I didn't do a thorough cleaning. But as you can see, if I can get the camera to focus, the puddle did not get any bigger. You see all around here I cleaned, and aside from just normal dust, it looks good. So looks like we solved that problem. So now we're just gonna, of course, the EGR valve, which is right here, still doing good, no leaks. Of course, that would be a gas leak, not a oil leak, but still looking good. So you can see some of the dirt left over from leaks and stuff like that that have been fixed.
So we'll see you next time. At some point I might do that valve cover gasket. We'll see. I don't know. It's kind of a pain. I've done it before. But well, who knows? We might take you along with that. Keep your eye out for it. For now, click the link, subscribe, like if you like it, put some comments down. Constructive criticism is always welcome. And that's it. So we'll see you next time on the DIY Dan channel.
Hey, again, thanks for watching. I appreciate you. I appreciate everyone that subscribes. Tell your friends, and try to get some different kind of content out a little more often than I have. But I appreciate your patience and appreciate you watching. Thanks.